All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We got Minister Stretch Sanders in studio talking about race. We're talking about the use of the N-word, and now we're going to be talking a little bit about Donald Trump. We'll be taking your phone calls, too, in just a second here. 257-5396. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of this conversation, 702-257-5396. So Donald Trump is now saying that if you live in Afghanistan, it's safer than Chicago. St. Louis, by the way, has the highest gun-related homicide rate among U.S. cities. It is not Chicago. And Donald Trump also claimed that more than 1,500 people were murdered since Johnson was appointed police superintendent back in 2016. Chicago police data shows more than 2,200 people actually were murdered during that time. And Trump also claimed that 13,000 people had been shot under Johnson's command. Since April 2016, it's been under 12,000. But we all can agree that Chicago's a dangerous place in certain areas, very dangerous. And the black-on-black crime in Chicago, the gang-related crime, is horrible. Now, speaking of Chicago, Trump also compared the Jussie Smollett scam to the impeachment inquiry during a speech in Chicago as well, which I thought was utterly ridiculous. So we're taking your phone calls on that. So let me ask you this, Stretch, before we go to the phone lines at 257-5396. Do you think it's fair for the President of the United States, not just Washington, D.C., to say that it is more safe to live in Afghanistan than Chicago?
Well, I know years ago, and to this day, they still compare Iraq to Chicago, and they call Chicago Chirac. So in some references, it's not totally bad. I think it's bad for him to keep speaking on cities and conditions that he's not trying to fix. Mm-hmm. So even though he's comparing it to a foreign place, he wanted to bring in martial law. That was his solution, and bring in the National Guard. He wasn't trying to bring in resources. We call it black on black crime, but it's just crime. Every ethnicity kills who they're around. And the so-called black on black crime is a product of low-funded schools, no jobs, no resources, locking up the father out the home. The mother got to work 2 jobs. She's strung out on drugs. Are there those who rise out that condition? Yes, me being one of them. I'm from Chicago, the south side of Chicago. But my mother had to have 2-3 hustles to make us work and to survive. So at the end of the day, he wants to bring in and the police and bring in more policing and knock Superintendent Johnson. But at the end of the day, nobody's bringing in the resources. Nobody's talking about how do we lift people out this condition. Mm-hmm. Crime is a result to people trying to survive. It's not because people just want to commit crime. Nobody grows up and says, I want to be a president. Well, I want to be a criminal. No, that's due to a condition. And when you're placed in a condition in Rome, do what the Romans do.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
In that situation, and you obviously have experience with this considering where you're from, but Chicago has been it's been a Democratic city for a long, long time. And Rahm Emanuel, I'm sure, I don't know how you think he's done as a mayor. But
horrible.
Do you think that if Chicago was a Republican city, that this amount of crime would not exist?
I think if it was a Republican city, it would probably be just as bad, if not worse. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the Republicans are those who are more wealthier, a lot of those who have more resources. And so if the Democrats don't want to put in resources, which are typically a party that is a little more progressive, a little more, I'll reach out and lift you up. You know, Republicans ain't doing. Most Republicans' mindset is, I got mine, get yours.
Minister, there's a reason, right, why there's not, more Republicans that are from the south side of Chicago, right? There's a reason why there's not more Republicans that aren't from South Central Los Angeles, right? I mean, there's kind of a method to the madness there as to what their allegiance is.
And to the statement about Afghanistan, that's actually very, very, it's patently false. There's been 1,176 deaths in the last 3 months in Afghanistan, 2 of which were massive suicide bombings. You don't have that in Chicago.
No.
But that being said, Chicago is a very dangerous
It's a dangerous
place.
place.
But Trump can't make a statement.
There's a better way to handle this.
It is completely incorrect.
Yes, we all agree in this room there's a better way to handle this situation. Number to call, Stretch Sanders, the minister in studio, 702-257-5396. Why don't we start off with Sally? Sally, thanks for being patient and waiting on hold. You're next. Stretch, go ahead and respond to that. Sally, hang on the line here. Let's let Stretch. Let's let Stretch respond to that. Go ahead, Stretch.
Thank you, sir, for the question. So, when it comes to the word cracker, that term actually we start calling the slave master cracker because they would crack us with the whip. So that's where it comes from. So it's not even as derogatory as being called the N-word. It was almost kind of like, you hit me with the whip, you crack me with the whip, you the cracker. Of course, you see the old Jeffersons or All in the Family where the term was used, and like cracker and hunky and things like that. But it can still be considered, I'm not white, so I can't tell you what to be offended by. So it can still be considered a term, a slur, or something offensive. But once again, it's apples and oranges. We can't compare being called a cracker to being called the N-word. When that word was used, we were being hung, right? Black people have never done to the white race what the white race has done to us.
So here's my response
so
to what.
two different.
Here's my response to what you're saying, and then Sally, I want to get your
Okay,
response.
what-
Hold on a second. Let me just give you my response, and then let's let Sally respond, and then JD, I want to hear from you too.
Right.
So my response to this is they're both bad words to use. They're both offensive words. Is there a degree to which word is worse? Yeah, I guess I would agree with you. The N-word is probably a more offensive word than calling somebody a cracker. But with that being said, they're both words that shouldn't be used. And my point is, if you're going to, and I think this is what Sally is trying to say, and I'll let her respond. If you're going to police somebody and arrest somebody for using the N-word, you better do the same thing for an
It's gotta be
African American
both ways.
for calling a white person cracker. Sally, do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree. There shouldn't be a double standard. And my point is that there should be free speech. It scares me. Disney World 1984, here we come.
Sally, thank you so much for your call. We appreciate it.
Now, Stretch, what about a word like Peckerwood or Becky? Those are a little more offensive, I would say, than cracker. I mean, it's a derogatory term directed.
But you guys are
towards-
what you guys are addressing though is degree, okay,
No,
of certain
no,
words.
I'm just
What
saying
the
that
call what she
Becky's
called in
fine.
about. But what she was calling about and what she addressed, and the first thing she said was she's afraid that people are getting thrown in jail or facing
Well,
you know
it's a bad
prosecution because of words, okay? And the fact of the matter is that the case that Brian you pointed out, this case at UConn, it has happened numerous times before. How many KKK rallies have white people yelled racial slurs at black people? How many Nazi rallies have been racial slurs been used
I'll
against
go
Jewish people?
further.
The point being is that this has happened since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And
So,
and
yeah.
now what scares her, and I think what scares a lot of people, is that now you have the possibility of getting thrown in jail for using
Right.
those words.
Yeah.
That's what freaks people out.
So this is my response. Show me a tape of a black fraternity on a bus singing a racial song about crackers. I can show you a tape of the university that was shown last year. Show me footage of a black mob marching, talking about we want to kill white people. I can show you one in Virginia.
Well, I'll give you
Show
one
me-
example. Hold
show
on.
me-
Let me give you one
and
example.
if you have one example, your one example, I got 20 examples.
No, and I'm sure you do, but I'm saying
So-
there are some members of Black Lives Matter that were saying kill police officers, pigs in a blanket. I don't agree with that, and I'm not saying everybody in Black Lives Matter does that. The only point I'm trying to make, whether it's 1 or 1,000, they're all wrong. We all can agree on that. They're all wrong. There are racist people, in my opinion, all colors, all genders. Sadly, I'm not going to, say, well, this race is more racist than that race. I'm just talking about today. I care about now. Not to say that there are some horrible atrocities that took place with slavery among African Americans and, my people with Nazi Germany. But I choose not to, and this is just me. I choose not to focus on the past and what has happened 50 years ago, 300 years ago. I want to focus on what happens now and make sure everybody is treated fairly. The number to call, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. We are joined in studio by Minister Stretch Sanders. Let's go to Stan. Stan, thanks for waiting patiently on hold. You're next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead, Stan.
What's up, Stan?
Okay, sure, go ahead. So what you're saying, Stan, hang on, Stan, I just want to make sure I'm clear with what you're saying. You're saying is unless you have been both in Chicago and Afghanistan, your opinion maybe is not as valid as someone that has been there. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. All right.
A lot of Mexicans, and they are whiter than me. I'm white.
So let's let Stan. I first of all, Stan, I appreciate your perspective, and I want to hear what Stretch has to think about that. I appreciate the phone call. And by the way, the number to call 257-5396. That's 702-257-5396. Stretch, why don't you respond to that?
I want to respond to Stan's response on Hispanics being called brown to be minorities. Stan, I don't know where you've been at for the last 50 years, but the Hispanic community have always been called brown. At the end of the day, I'm black. Is my skin literally black? No. It's common sense. At the end of the day, people who are brown, even people who we call white, are y'all white like paper? No. So we have to stop being like so elementary when it comes to colors. We're talking about Hispanic people are brown, Native American people have been historically called red, Asians and Hawaiians have been called yellow. This ain't nothing we just made up on this show today. So in the day, in the 60s, 66, the brown berets, who were who? Mexican. Why would they call themselves the brown berets? So Stan, I would just encourage you to do some research on the Chicano civil rights movement. Cesar Chavez, he referred to his people as brown rights and brown justice. So it's not something that we pulled out. And I think that Hispanic people are a minority in this country.
And I think the caller was trying to make it out to be as if it's something of a negative connotation, right? Like you said, it's more common sense, right? It's not offensive. We're not speaking to people offensively when we call them a black person, or we call a white guy like me a white person, or you call a Hispanic person brown. It's just a figure of terminology relating to what we've used for years, and it's not offensive in any way.
I want to talk about a subject that I know, Stretch, you are very passionate about, and that is the issue of homelessness. Las Vegas, according to a Fox News poll, Las Vegas is among one of the highest cities of the homeless rates, as shelters are facing capacity issues. Now, I don't know, the scale of minorities of how many are homeless, but to me, that is a moot issue. And the reason why I say is because if you're homeless, you're homeless. I don't care what you look like. We have to do something about this problem. Talk to me a little bit about the homeless issues, not just facing the entire country, and we all know California has some major issues when it comes to homeless, but we have some major issues right here in Las Vegas. Talk to me a little bit about that and your thoughts on it.
Well, I know years ago it was a poll that said 10,000 people sleep on the streets in Las Vegas every night. 72% of those are veterans, and 25% of those are women. I would say that, me personally, I think that nationally, the country just does not really care about poverty. There was a picture that's been going viral on social media of a family at a restaurant eating and a man on the street just sleep. Do you think that family walked over and checked on that man? Do you want something to eat? We have when it comes to the quote unquote homeless issue, it's almost kind of like you got yourself out there, get yourself from out of there. I don't even use the term homeless. I say people without homes. I think the word homeless has become a word to strip identity. If a man gets to throwing rocks at this building, we're going to say it's a homeless man. He doesn't have a race. And a lot of times you just say homeless person. He don't have a gender. They don't have a race. They don't have an identity. So if you have homeless, they don't call us the home more. What's the opposite of less? More.
That's true.
So at the end of the day, I think the word homeless has just become so derogatory in itself. And the city of Las Vegas, in particular, is trying to fine people and give misdemeanors for those who are quote unquote camping on the street. Well, what's your solution? You give me a ticket, it's not going to motivate me to, I'm going to use the resources. People have told me personally, I go out and serve as much as I can since 2016, every other Sunday on the streets, people without homes. Every testimony I hear is, Minister Stretch, it's not safe in those shelters. Some individuals in there got mental health issues, they not right. I'm safer in the street. I'm safer in a park.
That's sad.
They find you in the parks. They make you leave the parks now. So we have to have more compassion. As a human family, red, black, brown, white, and yellow, we have lost our compassion for those who are on the street. Me being a minister, it hurts my heart because a lot of these people so-called believe in a God or a higher being, but the Bible talks about helping the least of these, helping those impoverished, helping those who are poor. We had this black rally, this Black Justice Rally, National Day of Outrage, in front of the Regional Justice Building. In front of that Regional Justice, there were 15 folks lined on the street sleep. How are folks sleep in front of a building with the word justice? That's a hypocrisy in itself.
So what
we
do you?
don't care.
So let me ask you this then. And by the way, I will say I've seen JD on multiple occasions give food and money to the homeless. I have
Go
seen
JD.
that. We have an inappropriate, funny story that I will not
do it-
share
I
right
do
now,
it
but
regularly.
but
I have-
We
I-
saw JD help people
he
without
has a
homes.
he has a good heart. I've seen him do that a lot. He's a better person than me. I've done that from time to time, but I'll tell you one thing I haven't done. I haven't given homeless people money. I've given them food and drinks in my car. Sadly, at times, some snacks that were sitting there for a while that I wasn't going to eat. I'll be honest, and I will say that. But I still give people food because I'm not comfortable giving someone that's homeless money. Because I believe that in many instances they're going to use that for drugs or alcohol because they have mental illness or because they have substance abuse problems. So let me ask you this question. This is a very difficult issue. Stretch, what do you do? What do we do as a society when we have thousands of people, as you said, possibly 10,000 any given night, sleeping on the streets? Who's going to pay for it? What do we do with these people? And who's paying for it? I mean, what's the answer? I don't know what the answer is. What's the answer?
Well, first we have to change our mentality. It bothers me, and I disagree with you when people say, I don't give money. Me and my wife watched a documentary, shout out to my wife Kendall, watched a documentary on how women survive on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
These ladies say they have to use socks, they have to take t-shirts and make pads and tampons. So when you say that you don't give money, what's she gonna do? Put a burger between her legs?
But
At
I'm
the end
not.
of the day,
I'm not saying everybody on the streets
Right.
drinks. I'm not saying everybody. But you have to agree that there is a large portion of people that are homeless that do have substance abuse problems. Not all.
Right.
That
Or-
have
or-
substance
or
abuse
gambling
problems.
problem.
But at some point, they're going to need money to survive, right? If I was on the street, I'm a minister. I've never smoked or drank in my life. I might be out there getting high and drinking. It's survival. But it's not up to me to say, I'm not going to give you money. Food is not the solution to everything. Sometimes they need a blanket. They need resources. It takes money to buy that. Even places, if they want to go into a store and just gamble just to get out,
But I think
get
it's
out
a
the cold,
case by
you need
case.
money for that.
I think it's a case by case basis. I want to know first of all, how did they get there?
Well, what if I told
How
you
did
that-
they get to the situation that they are in? Go ahead, JD.
What if I told you that a lot of the homeless in the United States are actually former military, who just didn't have the
PTSD.
benefits? For a
yeah.
number of reasons, who just didn't have the benefits and were not given enough from the government to survive.
There are cases of that, I am sure.
And
They're
or,
out there.
Or for example, we had the attorney on about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he said that he's an attorney downtown, and he owns a law firm, and he has a beautiful building down there. And every day he wakes up, and he goes outside, and he literally scrapes up feces and urine off of and throw up and whatever else, and syringes right off of his basically his front porch.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll go and he'll ask one of the homeless, he'll ask one of the people that he thinks, actually defecated on his property, why are you doing this? And then he'll come back the next day and it'll be running down the top of his door. Because a lot in situations like this, sometimes there's malice involved in trying to destroy someone else's property because you are homeless.
Now, let's ask that lawyer.
And that lawyer actually described that perfectly on the show probably 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Let's ask that lawyer, how many people have he taken out of his own pocket to help these people? People don't care. We say who's going to pay for it, we're going to pay for it. We blow money on everything. I'm even finna put aside a actual savings account so I can actually do more for the community and like I said, I do as much as I can, what I can. But my goal is to have a building. I want to have a building called the Lean On Me Center. My organization will host with a food pantry, a clothing center, showers, and it's not about giving a handout. It's a hand up. You say how they get that? All it takes is for you to get fired, don't get another job in time, unemployment run out, you on the street.
Okay, let's say for an example, like in Los Angeles, where the problem is actually much worse than it is here. For example, this recent fire sounds like it was caused by a homeless person or home, whatever you want.
Person without a home.
A person without a home. The rent there is probably twice the cost that it is in Las Vegas.
Twice? I would say 4 times.
I mean, well,
more.
you're looking at $3,200 for a decent one-bedroom place. I mean, do you realize how much money it would cost to put a homeless person into a home and get them on their feet in a city like Los Angeles? I mean, it's $50,000-$70,000 just over 6 months probably to make that happen. I mean, no one really has that type of money to hand. I mean, you'd have to raise millions, if not billions of dollars. I mean, billions and billions of dollars in areas like this where the rent is so high to make this work. What are your thoughts on that, Stretch?
This is what I propose. I propose we do a challenge. We want to do everything else challenge. Let's do an adopt a person off the street challenge. It's more of us in homes than without homes. We can agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
If every one of us pick a person that your spirit just moves you, you could take a couple months to find that person outside of Christmas and Thanksgiving. Because to me, that's just fake. Everybody want to be loving when it's Christmas Day. Don't just give love. Give love every day. So at the end of the day, let's pick a person outside the holidays that you're going to literally mentor and rise out of that condition, we can do that. When we say who's gonna pay for this, we want the government to do everything, give us the
All right,
money,
let me
give us the budget.
I get what you're saying.
Individual people are going to be the ones who are going to change
And
this
again,
world.
like in theory, that sounds great, but logically, considering the economy and inflation, it's just how difficult
All right,
that
well,
really is.
let me lay this all out, and I think all of you are making very valid points. Let me be clear on that. But I don't think it makes me selfish if I'm sitting in a restaurant having a meal and I see 20 homeless people within a block, and I don't reach out to every single one of those homeless people and hand them money or give them something. I don't think that makes me selfish. With that being said, I'm also scared to walk up to a random stranger that is a homeless person. I don't know if they have a knife. I don't know if they have a gun. I don't know who they are. So what I think should happen, this is my opinion on what you're talking about, is come up with some sort of website, and if people want to go out there and they want to collect names of where people are located, where they are homeless, yes, and then we can, sponsor someone, and as you said, mentor someone, then that's something I would be comfortable doing. I am not comfortable right now going downtown and going into those areas and dressed, as a person that has some sort of money in a nice car. I'm not comfortable driving down there and going up to complete strangers that may or may not have drug issues. They may have weapons on them. I just don't feel safe doing that. And I don't think that makes me a selfish person. I just think that makes me a self-conscious person, of my surroundings. I'm okay with doing what you're doing, but we need to do it in a safe way. And I think that safe way would be developing some sort of website where you can find someone and they're screened and you know that they're safe and they just need help.
Well, think about this logically. Say you're walking in a gas station and there's someone out there that you know is homeless or that you think is homeless, and what does that mean? That means that they don't have access to showers, they don't have access to washing their hands, and they may have
Disease.
access to a lot of diseases,
Sure.
a lot of drug use. They may actually handle feces on a consistent basis. Would you be comfortable shaking their hand, and is that a problem? Not being comfortable shaking their hand? I don't think that it is.
No, I think that's
that
fair.
I think that's self-preservation. What do you think about that, Stretch?
When I go out and serve, I go out there, we see people who are white, black, brown, red, yellow, don't matter to me. I love on them like they're family. I hug them. I shake their hands. Now, be honest, when I go to the bathroom, I probably wash my hand like
that's you.
I ain't washed before. But
Right,
at the
exactly.
end of the day, that's love.
But
I'm not
that's
knocking
you.
you for being self-conscious and
Yeah.
wanting to go out there. But to me, I believe the robber who's finna go rob, if he runs to somebody who says, here's $100, I want to bless you today, he's not going to go rob. Because he's going to take that as a sign like, wow, we have to start being more concerned with, if I don't help this person, what's going to happen? We so worried about the person coming up to us. At any moment while you eating, that person come in that restaurant and shoot all y'all up.
Mm-hmm.
But by you walking past and saying, man, here's some lunch, stay encouraged.
But
I'm to the
which-
point
which
where
I do on a
even
consistent basis.
even when I don't have
He
money
does
to
do
give,
that.
I roll my window down and say, brother, I'm sorry, I don't have no change on me, but you stay
and I-
encouraged.
listen,
It's gonna get
Stretch,
better.
the homeless problem in the Vegas is actually it's very mixed race. It's
Absolutely.
not just
I
Caucasians. It's
I
African,
appreciate-
it's not just African Americans.
I appreciate the fact that you've done that. You are more courageous than I am, and I know you're a good man, and I'm glad you do those things. But my question is, listen, as you know, we're living in tough times now. There are a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck that are not able to just hand out $100 to a homeless person. However, where are the Sheldon Adelsons? Where are the Steve Wynns? What are they doing to help the homeless
That's a
problem?
legit question.
And I think that is a fair question to ask. I'm not asking Steve Wynn to go, homeless person to homeless person and dish out $100 bills. But what I am asking for is, how about build some facilities?
Well,
These are
especially-
billionaires.
Especially Sheldon Adelson, who's actually in some cases probably getting rich off of these people losing their livelihood to gambling problems.
Yeah.
His net worth is $37.4 billion.
Yeah.
He can't give $1.5 billion. Of course he can.
This is a
And
very
that's a great point, Brian.
this is a very important topic. I promise you, next week when you come in, we're probably going to continue this conversation, and I want to know, maybe you can think about this in the next week or so, and I want to know some solutions that we all can be involved in to help, because I think this is a very important issue, and we need to do it.
Well, I'll say this. I think that we have to get back our humanity. I don't care what you are, what you do for a living. We all can spare something to help somebody
No
in
question.
need. We're responsible. I don't care what race you are, what demographic, what class. We have a responsibility to uplift humanity. And the moment we
question.
stop doing it is the moment we die.
There's no question. I appreciate your wisdom coming in here and talking about all these serious issues. Stretch, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
here.
guys.
We
Appreciate
Thanks a lot,
you.
Stretch.
Always a good time when you come in.
Absolutely.
Really, really great conversation. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Carrot Top, ladies and gentlemen. That's
All
right.
right.
Carrot Top coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.